their development work, what they need. We must allow them to participate in the whole process. He went on further. He was asked another further question. Mr. President, what is your issue of an ethnically harmonious Sri Lanka? The answer is, I am absolutely clear that Sri Lanka belongs to all its citizens, Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslims and others. The policy of my government is to uphold the equality, liberty, fraternity and development of people belonging to all ethnic, linguistic and religious communities. What is your problem in coming up with a political solution? I want to say this. Leave what President Mahinda Rajapaksa says. But one of your ministers, Mrs. Champika Ranabaka, has given an interview where he has clearly stated his position. He says the government's plan is based on a three-dimensional approach towards a solution: demilitarization, democratization and development. It is the old paradigm that believed in the political solution. This vocabulary even exists only within the NGOs and the INGOs and embassy officials of Western nations. This will ensure that the dream of a Tamilism of the TNA or the dreams of the Muslim parties will not be realized whenever approach works. We're not dreaming of Tamilism. We're not dreaming of anything. We are quite sensible in what we want. He goes on to further say, the Sinhala nationalist movement has finally taken the reins. Others will simply have to fall in line. Finally, this government is not under any pressure to sacrifice the rights of the Sinhala people, which is the policy you're following. Is it the policy of President Rajapaksa or the policy of Champika Ranabaka, Honorable Champika Ranabaka? How can you reconcile the statement of the Honorable Champika Ranabaka with your stated objective of bringing about peace through the PSE? This is a question we have to pose. LLRC has also talked about a political solution. What has the LLRC said? I will read their recommendations. I will not read much of it because I do not have enough time. All parties should recognize, this is what the LLRC says in the report, all parties should recognize that the real issue of sharing power and participating in government is the empowerment of the people and making the political leaders accountable to the people. This applies to Sri Lanka as a whole and includes the needs of citizens of all communities, Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim and others. Effective functioning of the democratic system which fulfills their needs together with a consensual framework of devolution will, by virtue of its attributes and institutions intrinsic to it, also provide the answer to the grievances of the minorities. Commission wishes to underline the critical importance of making visible progress on the devolution issue in order to ensure the success of any process of lasting and sustainable reconciliation. The Commission therefore recommends that the present opportunity be utilized to launch a good faith effort to develop a consensus on devolution, building on what exists, both for maximum possible devolution to the periphery, especially at the grassroots level, as well as power sharing at the center. To this end, the government must take the initiative to have a serious and structured dialogue with all political parties and those representing the minorities in particular proposal containing the government's own thinking on the form and content of the dialogue process envisaged. That dialogue must take place at a high political level and with adequate technical backstepping. LLRC wants you to come up with your position. LLRC strongly urges the government to take the initiative and to come up with its own proposal. You are refusing to even respond to the proposal that we have submitted. So this, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Honorable Deputy Presiding Member, is the position. And what we find most disappointing is that while nothing is happening on the ground in regard to either a political solution or the recommendation of the constructive or the implementation of the constructive recommendation of the LLRC, day in and day out, in the north and the east, various things are happening on the ground, which is weakening our position, which is strengthening the position of extremists. And I do not think, sir, this can be allowed to go on. Before I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I want to just say a few words on the accountability issue. That issue is one that will never go away. It will remain until there is honorable peace in Sri Lanka. We certainly don't want to confront anyone. I do not say this in a spirit of seeking revenge. No. Our people suffered immensely during the time of the war. Tens of thousands of Tamil civilians were killed. We know that. They were bombed aerially. Multi-barrel rocket launchers were used. Heavy artillery fire was used. Even after commitments were made that they would not be used. And then when they happened, we raised those issues in Parliament. We spoke about those matters in Parliament. They are all recorded in the Hansard. There was no contradiction by the government to any one of the statements we made, because the government at that time realized that what we said was the truth. But we did not seek confrontation. At the same time, this cannot be swept under the carpet. You must not think that this can be swept under the carpet and can be forgotten about. It was a war fought without witnesses. The media was kept out. International media was kept out. NGOs were kept out. INGOs were kept out. The NGOs and INGOs were asked to leave the Bandi. In September 2008, the ICRC was not given free access. The UN was not given free access. We, the members of Parliament, would not go there. People died of starvation. People died due to lack of medicine. Hospitals were attacked. Relief centers were attacked. People lived under trees. They had no shelter. That was what happened.
Honourable Member, may I remind you, you have taken almost 90 minutes or more. How many more minutes you would like? 90 minutes.
I'm finishing up, sir.
Your party has only 100 minutes.
So that was the position. But at the same time, there must be an honourable peace. If there is to be reconciliation, genuine goodwill and harmony amongst the different ethnic groups, amongst the different peoples who inhabit this country, there must be an honourable peace. There must be a peace which recognizes their equality in this country and their right to live as equal citizens with a measure of self-governance that will enable them to rule themselves in respective matters fundamental to them in the territories in which they live. Otherwise, there cannot be an honourable peace. So I urge, sir, that if the government is prepared to address the question of accountability together with other issues in a collective way, in a responsible way, and looks forward to our cooperation, our cooperation will certainly be forthcoming. But we want honourable peace. And without honourable peace, you can't sweep the question of accountability under the carpet. That cannot happen. I thank you, sir.
Honourable Sumandaran will second it. You have only 8 minutes.
I will second the motion now, sir,
Yeah.
and reserve my right to speak later on the